but John knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's nothing like somebody sending you a raw vocal file that looks like wave your troubles away. Now, I will tell y'all this. I'm going to give away a secret. John, this is a secret. Now, I'm going to show you something that I did here that I don't believe is in the other template, and I'll tell you why I did it. So, what we did, which I'm very proud of, is we created a template for mixing gospel music similar to the one that you guys have, one that John did with Logic, right? But we have it for Ableton now, right? And I've been saying it forever. A lot of the things that you guys have heard from me, I've done from beginning to end in Ableton. What's special about this is there's no waves. There's no waves plugins. There's no Slate plugins. There's no universal audio. It's just stock Ableton plugins. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up my Ableton and I'm going to show you, first of all, how it sounds, and then I'm going to walk you through the template. All right? Here we go. Let's take a listen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, Tim.
Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, come on, you got that. Raise it, lift it. See, oh, 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 see, oh, oh, yeah. Hey, come on, raise your voice. Say, we will praise the name of Jesus. Yes, we will. We will praise the name of Jesus. We will praise the name of that great name. That great name. You alone are exalted. Your name be lifted above all the earth, above all heaven. No one can rival your worth. We will rise when darkness falls to lift your name above all other thrones. Shine your light, shine through us. Say, we will praise. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You want to hear the full record? It's on iTunes and Jesus Matches.
Come on, wherever you are, clap those hands. Hey! Lift your voice with the voice of triumph. We come to honor Jesus. Hey! Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah. We honor you. Hey! Oh! Together now, we give you glory. We give you honor and praise. Yeah! Yeah! Hallelujah! Hallelujah! We raise a praise to that great name. Hey! We bless you. Yeah! Hey! Honor you.
All right, so that's the tune. And I want you guys to notice like how full it sounds. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't ride any of the tracks on that. So there's no automation or anything on this right now. This is literally me dragging the files into Ableton to 0 and putting them on the right channels and just taking off. So what you're hearing is not even a real mix. If this was a full-blown mix, what I would have done is done some automation on the vocal, made a couple of changes here and there. So let's walk through it. So I know a lot of times what I've learned in these scenarios is people kind of fake you out. So I want you guys to know, I'm going to cut all of this off and I want you to hear, this is a raw file. This is not me putting on like this is the raw vocal. There's no effects, no added effects rather, none of that stuff. This is raw vocal that we're listening to. So this is the raw lead vocal. When you hear this, let me solo this out.
Come on, you got that. Raise it. Lift it. See you.
That's it.
No.
That is the real vocal, okay? So let me cut this back on. So if you can see on the lead vocal channel, what do we have? We've got some EQ, and then we've got a dynamic tube. I like adding, with Tim's voice, these types of voices, a lot of times you're going to be dealing with some voices that are thinner than others. What this plug does is going to give it a little bit of grit. You can control how much you want to add to it. And then you have 3 different versions of the curve that you're actually using on that. So you can see where on the spectrum this is actually adding. And then you can change the tone as well. I love that. All right. What else do we have on here? So I'll let you hear it with that. You can hear already we got rid of the bottom.
No.
Okay. On top of that, we added another EQ, overall EQ. All right, let me open these up. We got some compression, another tube, the de-esser, and lastly, compression here. Okay, but you can see it's really not much. It's barely hitting the being used. It's just to catch anything that goes over. Okay. A lot of times when you're dealing with vocalists that are dynamic, especially if they're recorded and this is not a mix seminar, but John knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's nothing like somebody sending you a raw vocal file that looks like wave your troubles away. It's just wavy all over the place. So you want to have as much control as possible. So in that scenario, like these things are super important, and they're just honestly normal things that you will have on a lead vocal song. All right. So you're going to have EQ here. You can see we got a little bump right there around a little after, right before 6K, right? Not a whole lot of craziness going on. All right. And then another tube. All right, and then multi dynamics here, but then here we actually have a de-esser. This is probably going to be one of the most important things you're going to be using in this entire chain. So I'll let you hear it with that. Let's get rid of it. You can hear
Come
it.
on, you got that. Raise it. Lift it.
A little more presence.
No.
Also a little more control. You can see it. A little more control there. All right, let's go down and see what we have in the returns. All right, I'm going to cut these on. So in the returns, which we'll get to in a minute, DV, drum verb, drum compression. It's actually parallel compression there. I got a master verb. All right, vocal verb 1, vocal verb 2, vocal delay, vocal compressor. Then you have lead vocal verb, right? And then you have a second lead verb. You got lead delay and finally lead compression. All right. So that's what we have happening there. Let's move down to, and I'll let you hear that before I jump out of there. This is what, and I'll get to these in a second.
Lift it. See you.
Add a lead verb. And I'm coming to another
See
one.
you. Oh, yeah.
Delay.
Hey. Come on, raise your voice. Say we will praise the name.
All right. So now we do have 1, 2, 3, 4 different channels for each vocal part, because that's normally what you're going to be dealing with. I'm the type of person that if you get files from me, I want to hear my vocal a certain way. So this is the stems from the vocal. I bounce these down myself, right? So same thing. Let's take away all of the glory. All the glory and the honor. Let's take all that away so you guys know.
That great name.
Dry vocal.
We will praise the name of Jesus. We will praise the name
Back
of
on.
Jesus. We will praise the name of Jesus. That great name.
All right. So what do we have here? We've got EQ, glue compressor, one of my favorite compressors in Ableton. I use this on everything, even on the final mix sometimes. Another tube that I give us a little bit of distortion there. It's beautiful. Multi-dynamics. De-esser. You got stereo watt. Now, I really don't need this, but it does give you the option, all right? Because sometimes you just kind of want them to sit out just a little more. So that option is there, all right? And then you have your general compression there. So once I cut everything on.
Praise the name of Jesus.
Beautiful, full sound and vocals. Same thing with the returns, all right? I'm going to cut them on a little bit, all right?
Praise the name of Jesus. We will praise the name of Jesus. We will praise the name of Jesus.
Beautiful. Huh? Y'all ain't got to like God. I love him. Huh? Let me move on. What else we got? Let's move to the drum some. This is where we honestly, and I think John Mike is actually going to jump in here, but let me tell you what we're working with so far, okay? So with these drums now, you see I already have my triggers in. I'll get to that in a second because I know you guys see that. All right, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. So let's look at what's actually on the channels, okay? Kick drum. I told you you're going to see it again, all right? EQ8, all right? Why do I use EQ8? Because it's going to give me the most control. You see down here, we're not even using all of the bands. Like, we can literally add bands. Touch your neighbor, say add bands. We can literally, for more control, we just didn't need it, right? So we got a little bump here, a little snap there at the end. We're going to raise it up a little bit, amen? A little bit above 5K, right before that 6. That's where I can get that attack, all right? So my raw kick file, that's the raw kick file. Then I have my trigger on top of that. So I'm getting most of the snap from my trigger, all right? Together. Snare. What do we have on the channel? All right. Compressor. A gate. Another EQ here and some tube. You're going to see that quite a bit. Above that, I have, for the overall snare sum, just a little bit more compression to blend it together and make sure that we're not getting, make sure it's not going above a certain amount. So the same thing, snare bottom, we've got compression, we've got EQ, and the saturator. Now, I will tell y'all this. I'm going to give away a secret. John, this is a secret. This saturator right here is the will of Almighty God. This is like when it comes to drums, when it comes to basses, if you're in Ableton, it gives it body. It really almost like adds, if you had a tube plugin, right? It just gives it body. So I love using that plugin. As you can see, the drive isn't even really up. Sometimes I just throw it on the drum bus and it just gives it so much body. And that's regardless, that doesn't matter what type of music you're making. It's just great on everything. All right, so snare bottom, we got your EQ, we got the same thing there. Hats is open. Tom, same thing. EQ, this is overall toms, right? So this is your tom sum. We got some EQ here. If you need to do a general roll off, which I wouldn't really do, but is there for you. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But it's pretty much on every channel, as you can see already, okay? And then on each channel, what do we have? We've got a gate, right? We got compression, another EQ, all right? Get your tones right, drummers. We'll talk about that another time. Praise the Lord. Same thing on each one. All right, so this one he did not use. He only used 3 toms because the song didn't call for it, okay? Everything is already panned out for you. Cymbals, same thing, all right? No ride cymbal on this, which is why you see that the way it is. Same thing here, same thing here. I didn't even use the compression on each one, okay? So yeah, that's drums. John, did you want to jump in here really quick about that?
This is real quick, just something I'm gonna show you guys. This is the template. These are the exact drums. I just pulled the drums in just for this example to show you guys really quick. This is how you can replace drums or trigger drums inside of Ableton natively without the use of any third-party plugins like Trigger or whatever the case may be. You can do this with a couple of clicks. This is the snare top. This is the trigger track, which the trigger, they come with the template, all right? So in there, here's a snare, trigger snare. That's built into the template. You ain't gotta do anything but download it. That snare is in the template. You can use it for just about anything. Same with the kick. We have a kick in here, triggered kick, sounds like this. All right, so you can do this with anyone. So watch this, this is really difficult. We're gonna take this snare track, we're gonna drag it down here to the snare, to trigger snare track, and boom, okay? Now we got that in here. Now there is another step we wanna go with. We're gonna go in here into the MIDI and we're gonna do, cause it spits out a bunch of googly gop that has to go with, it reads the entire, all of the transients, the snare, the kick. All you gotta do is just delete all of this, bam. That's unnecessary. You can see the triggered snare track has already been picked up. So we're gonna delete anything that's not on the triggered snare track. And so now, before, if I take this off, we're gonna mute this, the triggered snare. This is what it sounded like before. And this is with the snare trigger. All right, so now we're gonna go to work on the kick. We're gonna do the exact same thing with the kick. We're gonna grab this, we're gonna drop it down to the trigger kick track, and we're gonna wait on God. Does the same thing, it spits out all of this stuff, right? But all we're concerned about is what's on this triggered kick track. So we're gonna delete everything else. This takes 30 seconds, man. And boom, not even that, 5 seconds. And there you have it. Let's get to the action. And just like that, you were able to replace the snare and the kick, which are included. And I've even also included a rim in here as well. So you have coming with the template is a side stick. I call it the rim, but I think that's what we named it in here, the rim. So there's so you got a rim shot. We got that. We got the snare, and then you get a triggered kick in there. So all of that to help you guys with those tones that my mans was talking about just a little bit ago. All right, so I'm gonna hand it back over to Vaughn.
So we talked about the drums. You hear how huge, like I love big sounding drums. Love it. All right, let's keep moving. So we have this bus here, actually, that says all music, all right? And I'm gonna show you what's included in that, and then I'm gonna tell you why, okay? So in there, we have some perc. What perc would typically be is if you have loop tracks, you know, some claps here, stuff like that. And you have 4 of those. Sometimes we separate them. Sometimes you need to separate them because they may send it to you like this, but you may have certain things that are peeking out and you just want to put that on a separate track, okay? So with that, it's just simple. We just rolled off the bottom and then you got some compression there. And you can add as much as you need. We've got a bass channel here. I told you guys you would see this saturator. I put it on everything. I'm not gonna lie. It just gives so much depth to it. So we got a bass. When they sent me the bass, let's see, or when he played it, we got that's actually Justin Raines, by the way. So shout out to Justin. Real simple. One, Justin is incredible, so he don't miss. But this is what it sounds like with all the plugins on. More control. Because you wanted to get rid of, for me, It was about getting, sometimes it can get a little boomy, and around that kick drum, it just starts to get muddy. And then by the time you get to your master bus, it's just like, why does it sound like I don't know what's happening down there? All right. That's basically why. So we cleaned it up a little bit, and then you got your control coming in and after the EQ, and then you got you're gonna give it a little bit more body, all right, with the hot tubes. All right, guitars. All right, fun stuff. I don't have anything on these channels. The guitar on this was done, I want to say, these are two guitarists on this, actually. One is Vendale Smith, my God. And then the other,
Vendale, bro.
yeah, you see it. Look at this. There's nothing on the individuals. You just leave. When Vendale sends you a track, you leave it alone. All right. Then I have Benjamin Bird. Benjamin is somebody I've been mentoring probably for 5 years now. He's actually out with Todd Delaney now, MDing for him. So super proud, incredible guy. So guitars, right? Not a lot to say other than you might want like a little more EQ here, right? Sometimes you just got to get what you're doing when you EQ. I don't want to turn this into a mixing lesson, but I do more subtractive EQ than I add, if I'm honest. Like, because most of the time what's wrong with it, if you really record well, it's not that something's wrong with it. It's just maybe that something's in the way. So that's general. That's just a general rule, guys. For me, I'm going to normally take stuff away before I add anything. All right, just to create some space. So you have your EQ there, so you can see we rolled it off. You got a little compression, and then my favorite, I'm telling you, I put it on everything. All right, let's listen to the guitars. Play, Rev. Play, Rev. You know, and then you just see a little verb send here, all right, just to add it to the overall room, as I would call it. Let's move the keys. All right, in keys, I'm going to show you something here, okay? So we've got some EQ. Again, if you record well, you generally don't need to do a lot of EQing on your sounds, all right? Whole nother lesson, whole nother day. Okay, so we have a piano here, we've got Rhodes, and we've got organ. And yes, this is in the template. I'll show you what's on it. Little EQ, we just basically rolled off. Little chorus, not much. Just gonna add a little bit of width to it. And then you've got, again, EQ, hot tubes. Yeah, I thought I was playing. It's on everything, all right? But you can see the drive is up a little more for that Rhodes, and that's gonna make it a little dirty, all right? So with this, I'll show you, let's go dry. Okay. All right. Add the EQ, clean up the bottom, and add a little bit of drive to it. You can hear it already. All right, a little width, and let me turn that master back on. Enable send. All keys. All right, now I want to show you something that I did here that I don't believe is in the other template, and I'll tell you why I did it. If you see here this glue, this is on the keys bus, right? So this is all of my keys. All right, so what I did here, if you look, there's an EQ. You have a glue compressor, and that's just basically to catch it if it's going over a little bit. It's a little bit of control. Told you guys my favorite plugin. This compressor here is different though. This is a side chain, and I'll tell you what I did. So you see here it says all vocals. What generally happens is a lot of times the keys will get in the way of the vocal, and you spend a lot of time riding the vocal. And so what I normally do is just kind of side chain them, so that when the vocal is present, the keys kind of automatically get out of the way. It just ducks the keys a little bit. So what that looks like is, all right, I'll cut the vocals on so you can see it. You're gonna see this move.
See, we will praise.
So if I need to get him, you see it jumping.
We will praise. Yeah. For your majesty will praise you. Hey.
So when you see it jumping out there, it's taking off maybe like a dB or so. Not much, but it gets it out of the way of the mix, right? Or out of the way of the vocal. So that's something that I did to kind of help you. The other thing is I did the same thing with the aux track, because what I found is these are normally within that same frequency range. So what happens is it becomes increasingly difficult depending on how many sounds you use. This is one of the easier songs for me, but I do have certain songs where I may have literally between aux and keys, it may be Jesus. I mean, a lot, like a lot, right? And so that just helps me to get things out of the way. So on the aux channel, all right. So what we do have is a little EQ, subtractive EQ there, and little, and then a little add at the end around 10K to brighten it up a little bit. We're gonna make it a stereo. You've got a little compression. The thing I love about what you see with the stereo is you can change it from being from out the easiest way to say it, from a little to a lot, right? So we gave you some options there. You got compression. We're going to enhance it around the top end. And then you have my favorite, the glue compressor, and then with the side chain there so it can get things out of the way, all right? Not a lot going on individual tracks. I did this because there was a sound that I used at the end that was really bright, and I comped it. So pray my strength in the Lord. That is not in yours, okay? So that's a rogue EQ. All right. What else we got? Let's go to the returns. The return whinings. That was 19. I forgot. I don't know. So drum verb. Okay. So what I did was we have a drum room verb that's here. All right. Low cut it a little bit. You don't want the, you just don't want all that information coming through down there. Not for me. No, Lord. All right. And then you have some compression here, and you have an EQ option. I left mine flat because I didn't really need to do anything with that. We got compression, a little parallel compression there. Then we have a master verb that's here, big room verb. I showed you guys this earlier. We've got vocal 1. We've got vocal 2. We've got the delay here. I love this delay because what this does is it's going to give you options. So you have the option, right? This is actually like a filter delay. So what you can do is you can change how it responds. Two ways. You can change the beat that it falls on, right? Because you may have something that's more like a dotted, right? Or you may have something that you wanted to respond quicker, right? So you do have those options, and you have the option to change your left and your right, as you can see I did here, okay? And in the middle, all right? So you're gonna get, let me let you see how this sounds actually. So you can see that's a lot of information that's happening, right? Love that. Love that delay. I actually didn't, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I had never used it before I created this template. I'm gonna be honest. And now I'm using it, right? So we got vocal compression. What else we got? We got another verb happening here. Now these are two different responses, and I'll let you hear the difference. All right. So lead verb. Smaller room. Together. Well, sing, Tim. What else we got? Another delay, right? Changed it up for this. This is just simply a right and left delay. What you can do with this is you can actually unlink them, right? You can unlink it and unsync it. Huh? He's a rapper. And it just gives you more options, because if you have it like this, it's pretty much it's going to go together because it's synced. But you can change this. Now, what I did with this is change the percentage just a little bit so it can give it more stereo width. All right. I like to play with spaces like that. So I'll let you hear how that is. Now you see this side chain here. So I have it on top of the lead sum. So it creates like this dynamic delay. So that way the delay isn't happening over top or at the same as the vocal, or I have to ride it from the sum, right? What it's doing is creating a dynamic delay, which basically means, I think I even got that from, I was using one in Pro Tools. So, if, you know, and I loved it because they already had it that way. With this, you actually have to side chain it. And it's just going to make sure that when the vocal is coming through, we hear the vocal first and then the delay after. That's the easiest way to say it, all right? And then last, just another compressor for the vocal, all right, in your return. Where I really want to get to is right here. Huh? Come on, God. What we did was we gave you guys so many options, right? And now I'm going to be honest. Ableton, I had no idea. Again, I use a third-party plugin. Why? Because I'm a professional and this is what I do all the time, so I have access to different things. This, I had no idea that I could even do in Ableton. I'm not even gonna lie. But we did it, doggone it, and it's in the template. So you have some options if you want more of an analog feel. Let's go through what's here. Let me do this the quickest way I can. These are all macros right here. So you have some saturation. You have the color of that saturation, meaning where it's going to respond on the frequency range. All right. You have the amount of saturation. Then you have, Jesus. You have your threshold to your compression. So all your macros are here, right? So that way you don't have to go through each and every plugin to change it. It's right here in front of your face, right? So if I want parallel drive, if I want it clean and tight, if I want a more analog sound, which is a little heavier, it's a little warmer rather, right? It's going to change the EQ. It's going to change the saturation. It's going to change the compression. It's going to change the way the whole thing responds. Light drive, right? Or heavy drive, all right? But basically light saturation or heavy saturation. The saturation is going to act more like a tape plugin, which I use a lot. Right? As you guys can tell, I use that a lot. And that's really where the sauce is. I did this so that you guys will have options, because normally a lot of times they just give you a general chain, but they don't tell you that if you want a different sound, if you want it to be more punchy, then you're going to have to change that master chain, right? If you want it a little more clean and want things a little bit more compressed, then that's an entirely different response. It's the same plugins, but different response. So let's do it this way. I'm actually going to play it, and I'm going to show you how each one responds. Hold on, let's do it this way, because I think I did something weird a second ago. All right, cool. Let me play through the drive. So let's start with, let's go to more of, let's do MIDI analog. I should have changed that name. Here we go. Here.
We cast down now. We humble ourselves before you, King of glory. Hey,
Clean and tight. Let's change it.
we cast down our crowns. Humble ourselves.
Vocals immediately change. And what I'm gonna do, matter of fact, let's just loop this section so that you guys don't think it's just the spot changing.
Yeah. Come on, listen a little higher. We cast down now. We humble ourselves before you, King of glory. Hey,
Parallel drive.
we cast down our crowns. Humble ourselves.
Vocals a little more forward.
Hey,
Light drive.
for the God that you are, Lord, we honor you.
Let's go heavy saturation, heavy drive.
Majesty and honor you. We join the angels and the elders in honor you. Come on, somebody.
And all this is just giving you, man, come on, Rev. That joint sounds incredible. Jesus Christ.
Man, that's
crazy. And it's giving you these options. I don't know any other template that has these options. I really don't. I'm not trying to. I would say I'm not trying to sell you on it, but it's kind of selling itself.
Yeah, that's
something
what
else.
I wanted to say. That's
it's crazy. And on top of that, let's say if you come up with a variation that is not in this chain over here. You can literally create a new chain based on the macros that you moved around and the changes that you made within the plugins.
Yeah,
like
that's
you
crazy.
can literally go in here. Let's say if I want to just go nuts and just turn everything up, which is dumb, but let's just do it anyway, right? I can say new and say variation 1 and rename it, Control R, and I'm gonna call this exactly what it is, foolishness. All right. and so that way I don't lose my template. See what I'm saying?
That's crazy,
Dude, I don't
man.
know any other template that has this, man. And then you
That's
have your
crazy.
spectrum at the end. Spectrum is really important because if your ears fail, which if you've been working a long time, sometimes I'm gonna be honest with you, you don't know what you're listening to, and then you get in the car and you're like, this is horrible. You can look and see that response on this in your spectrum, and you're gonna have that. All right. I'm gonna stop right there, man. It's Jesus.
The gospel mixing template, it is on sale right now for $49.99. That is this week only.
Yeah.
You can get this, and you get everything that you see. It's the exact template that we showed tonight. So make sure you jump over and grab it. Scan this QR code down there in the corner. So if you're on the phone, if you're watching on your phone right now, all you have to do is screenshot that little QR code. Just screenshot, and then go into your phone camera roll and tap the QR code. It will take you to the website. For those of you who didn't know that you can do that, you can take a picture, a screenshot, tap the QR code. It's going to take you to the page, and then you'll be able to get this template for $49.99 this week only. And if you didn't know, just in case you care, I know people will ask because we get it in the comments. We have it for Logic Pro for the iPad.
Yeah.
You know, the same template. We have it for Logic Pro on the iPad. We have it for Pro Tools. For those who use Pro Tools, we have the gospel mixing template for Pro Tools. For all of you, look at these
Comments,
comments, fire
Reviews.
emojis, reviews. You know, we got it for Ableton, we got it for and we got it for Logic, and we have it for Studio One. So make sure you guys check that out. Head over to the website, scan the QR code, tap it in your thing if you're watching on mobile, and make sure you support this because it allows us to keep building things the way that we do. All right.